Hey, this is C and Detail. I'm Chris. This is MMA for you. I'm going to be doing my predictions for UFC on Fox 9, Johnson versus Benavidez 2, which happens on December 14th. This card was hit with a lot of injuries. I mean, John Dodson was supposed to fight Scott Jorgensen, and he was a replacement for someone else, like Fergie McCall. Now Makovsky is going to fight Jorgensen. The Matt Brown versus Carlos Condit fight, which I was really looking forward to, has been scrapped. A lot of these guys aren't their original opponents. I think Ryan LaFlare and Bobby Green took their fights on short notice as well. It's definitely an injury-ridden card. Overall, it's still pretty good. A very alpha male dominated card for sure. 3 alpha male fighters are on the main card, and then you have like Danny Castillo, who's an alpha male, on the undercard as well. So yeah, it's actually still not a bad card regardless. So let's get right to it. Demetrious Johnson fights Joseph Benavidez. Well, Demetrious Johnson beat Benavidez by unanimous decision on back at UFC 152 on September 2012. Demetrious has an 18-2 record with 1 draw, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 7 wins by sub. 27 years old on a 4-fight win streak, training out of AMC Pancration with like Matt Hume. He's a UFC flyweight champion. Kickboxing is solid. He uses combinations well. His wrestling is really good. If you watch his last fight against Moraga, man, the guy was hitting like picture-perfect takedowns. I think he went I don't remember the number of takedowns he did, but it was like he got them all pretty much. His takedown defense is solid, and when he is on his back, he's good at getting back to his feet when he is taken down. Good in the scramble. His cardio is good. He's been going 5 rounds his last couple fights now, actually. And one other thing about him that's really good is he's good at making mid-fight adjustments. You want like the John Dodson fight. In the first 2 rounds, Dodson was getting ahead. I thought was ahead the first 2 rounds, even dropping Johnson, or staggering him at least. I forgot if he dropped him. I think he staggered him pretty good. And then you can see around the 3rd round that the tide really shifted, and he made the necessary adjustments to beat Dodson. Joseph Benavidez, though, 19-3 record, 6 wins by KO or TKO, 8 wins by sub. He's 29 years old on a 3-fight win streak. He's training out of Team Alpha Male. He's a strong wrestler. His ground and pound is really good. Stand-up is greatly improving, especially under Dwayne Bang Ludwig. His guillotine is really, like all alpha male guys, he has a strong guillotine, and he's really strong in the scramble as well. What makes this fight interesting is that Benavidez does actually have more of the proven finishing ability, both on the feet and on the ground. And with the new stand-up, the improving stand-up under Dwayne Ludwig, should make for a very different fight. And honestly, Joseph Benavidez, when they first fought, I believe he took 2 rounds also against Johnson. So this fight really could go either way, but I'm going to go with Demetrious Johnson to win this one. Like I said, his stand-up, both have been improving. I find Demetrious to be a little more crisp. Not to say that Joseph Benavidez is sloppy or anything. His stand-up's greatly improved, and he also has like strong wrestling. A lot of the same stuff, attributes that Johnson has, Benavidez has as well. But I gotta go with Demetrious. I think he can definitely take. I can see him taking the decision. Using, I wouldn't say superior kickboxing, because I like Benavidez's kickboxing actually. I like Johnson's timing. There we go. It's not that he's superior per se, but I like his timing of his strikes and his takedowns a lot better than Benavidez. It's not like Benavidez has bad timing. I just feel that Johnson has better timing with his offense. I can see Benavidez taking rounds pretty easily. And if we finish it happening in this fight, I could see Benavidez getting the finish. However, overall, especially if the fight goes to decision, I got to go with Demetrious Johnson to win this one. Next fight after that, really good fight here. Urijah Faber fights Michael McDonald. This one's pretty hard for me to call. Michael McDonald, 16-2 record, 9 wins by KO TKO, 5 wins by sub. He's 22 years old, and he's got some heavy hands, strong boxing, mainly from the inside. He's more of an uppercut hook type guy. I don't see him too much use straight punches, but from the inside he's really strong. And he uses combination punching as well. His wrestling is solid, and his Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is really good too. Once a Brad Pickett fight, for example, man, just off his back, out of nowhere, triangle choke, and tapped him out. And Brad Pickett is a very good grappler in his own right. Urijah Faber, 29-6 record, 7 wins by KO TKO, 16 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO TKO, and he's 34 years old on a 3-fight win streak, training out of Team Alpha Male. He has some strong wrestling. He's really relentless about getting his takedowns. His stand-up is improving under Dwayne Bang Ludwig. His guillotine's really good, and his back control is really good as well. He's got good ground and pound, good cardio, really resilient, and a good chin. The only guys that really beat him are the best of the best. You know, Jose Aldo, Renan Barão, Mike Brown. But, you know, if he fought Mike Brown today, I think Urijah Faber would beat Mike Brown. But, yeah, you know, the thing is, if it stays standing, I gotta favor McDonald. However, I can see Faber take the fight to the ground. Renan Barão was able to take Michael McDonald down. Brad Pickett took him down as well. I'm not saying he has like bad takedown defense or anything like that. You know, he has good takedown defense, but you know, some of these guys that have some good grappling backgrounds, and Faber's a really good wrestler, have managed to take Michael McDonald down. I can see, the way I see the fight, is if it's standing, I go with Michael McDonald. But under the grappling, I'll go with Faber. I like Faber to take the fight to the ground, probably stay in top control. But Michael McDonald, if you watch like the first round, and I think the second round of the Renan Barão fight, that guy explodes back to his feet. Really good. Overall, though, I can see Michael McDonald win this. The guy's young, and the guy is just a really good top 5 fighter, you know, but I think Faber takes it through superior grappling. Okay, next fight at that, Nick Lentz fights Chad Mendes. Lentz has a 24-5 record with 2 draws and 1 no contest, 6 wins by KO or TKO, 10 wins by sub. Also has 2 losses by KO or TKO, 29 years old on a 3-fight win streak. Training out of ATT. He is big for 145. He's a grinder with strong wrestling. He's good in the clinch, relentless about getting his takedowns, some really strong top control, and his stand-up is improving. Chad Mendes, though, 15-1 record. His only loss is to Jose Aldo. 6 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. He's 28 years old on a 4-fight win streak. Training out of Team Alpha Male. He has some really strong wrestling. Really good takedown defense, too. Watch a Clay Guida fight. Guida had, like, no way of taking this guy down. He's good into scrambles as well. His stand-up has been greatly improving under Dwayne Ludwig. And he's showing KO power, too. One of the only guys to knock out Clay Guida. Knocked out Darren Elkins. He's also got that really good guillotine. I gotta say, I think Chad Mendes is pretty much a better version of Nick Lentz. I can't see Lentz working his grinding game on a strong wrestler like Mendes. And on the stand-up, I think Mendes beats him. So yeah, Chad Mendes for the win here. Okay, next fight after that, Danzig fights Joe Lauzon. This fight was originally supposed to be on the prelims, and it got bumped up. Probably because Lauzon has really fun fights. Danzig has a 21-11-1 record. 21-11 record with 1 draw. 5 wins by KO or TKO, 10 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO or TKO and 2 losses by sub. One of those losses was pretty devastating by Melvin Gillard, man. Just put him out. 33 years old, 2-fight losing streak. His stand-up is good, and it's really technical. I've always liked that about Danzig. Really good technical stand-up. His Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is solid as well. He's up against Joe Lauzon, who has a 22-9 record. 4 wins by KO or TKO, 18 wins by sub. He is a finisher. All of his wins are by finish. He also has 3 losses by KO or TKO, 3 losses by sub. He's 29 years old. Also on a 2-fight losing streak. He lost against Michael Johnson. A lot of people favored Joe Lauzon to win, but Johnson managed to beat up on the feet. Really bad, too. And defend his takedowns. When he did try for takedowns. Lauzon has some really strong, relentless Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's a good guard passer. And he's a guy that's always active, especially on top control. He's always looking to pass, always looking to sub or finish in some other way. He's also good off his back as well. He submitted Jamie Varner off his back in a fight that many thought was a fight of the year contender. Stand-up is average. It's not bad. And he did manage to wobble or drop Melvin Gillard with his stand-up. So it is not that bad. It's not that great either. His wrestling, he's a good wrestler. He's good about getting the takedowns. I'd say he's kind of average there too. He's not like a great wrestler or anything like that, but he definitely is a good wrestler. Really tricky though. This guy, if you watch the Jim Miller fight, the guy will seriously go for a flying leg lock. He's really tricky about getting fights to the ground. I believe when he fought Jeremy Stevens, he did a fireman's carry type of takedown as well. Really tricky on the ground. His cardio though, yeah, I've said it before, but his cardio honestly isn't that great. He tends to fade late second round and especially in the third round. Despite all that, I think Joe Lauzon takes it. I think I can see him take the fight to the ground. I think Danzig's better technically in the stand-up. I can see Lauzon possibly catching him, but it's mainly on the ground that I see Lauzon winning this one. Next, on to the prelims, which will be on Fox Sports 1. Ryan LaFlare fights Court McGee. Court McGee, 16-3 record, 3 wins by KO or TKO, 7 wins by sub. He's 20 years old on a 2-fight win streak. Training out of Pit Elevated. He's really a tough and gritty type of fighter. Strong cardio, really high output in his strikes. He's one of those guys that constantly stays busy throughout the whole fight. His kickboxing is solid. His wrestling is solid. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu solid. He's good everywhere, but just not great everywhere. Not great anywhere. And he has a good chin. Ryan LaFlare, though, 9-0 undefeated record. 4 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub. He's 30 years old, trains out of Belmore Kickboxing. He's big for 170. He's a strong wrestler. He uses those clinch takedowns a lot. His ground and pound is solid. He's constantly active, especially when he's on top. Similar to Court McGee in a sense, that he's a guy that's always active throughout the whole fight. Stand-up is good. He has some good knees as well. This fight's actually very interesting because they're in a way they're kind of the same guy as they're very workmanlike type fighters. I gotta go with LaFlare though. I think he's gonna be the better wrestler here for one. It's gonna be really interesting because both these guys move forward. They're both constantly active. But like I said, I think LaFlare, he's gonna be the better wrestler. I can see that Ian take the fight to the ground. I don't know about the stand-up if he's better per se, but I wonder if he's gonna have better reach even. Nonetheless, I'll go with Ryan LaFlare to win this one. Next fight after that, we got some big stylistic difference here as Edson Barboza fights Danny Castillo. Edson Barboza has a 12-1 record, 9 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. He's 27 years old on a 2-fight win streak. Trains at Ricardo Almeida Jiu-Jitsu. Other guys he trains with would be Marlon Moraes and Frankie Edgar. And it's showing too. His leg kicks are definitely, his strongest part of his game. His overall kickboxing is good, and his grappling is improving. Like, his takedown defense has been greatly improving, and it's been steadily improving, actually. So yeah, he's getting better on the ground. Danny Castillo has a 16-5 record with 5 wins by KO or TKO, 4 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by KO or TKO and 2 losses by sub. He's 34 years old on a 2-fight win streak, training out of Team Alpha Male. He's got some strong wrestling, good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and good top control. Now, I've seen a couple of fights with Danny Castillo where he goes up against a guy that's primarily a striker and wins. So, Anthony and Jokawani would be one fight, and Tim Means. And they're both, those guys are pretty big for a weight class as well. And I saw Danny utilize his superior wrestling to win the fight. So, it's really tough because I can see Danny Castillo playing spoiler. It's very possible. It's his game to do that. He can grind away on top control at times too. I've seen it a lot of times. It's not something he's not adverse to or anything like that. And this one's hard for me to call because honestly, it's more of like my head says Castillo, my heart says Barboza because I'm a big Barboza fan, and I think that he's definitely still a pretty bright prospect. I'll go with Barboza here, but I think he can. I think he's better on the feet, and I'm gonna have some faith that he's gonna improve his grappling. He's training with some really good people these days, and I have seen noticeable improvement in his takedown defense. I've seen Danny Castillo though against other fighters, especially primarily stand-up fighters, that he's managed to win using his superior wrestling too. That's right, it's really hard for me to pick this one because I can definitely see Castillo just winning with superior wrestling and top control. Very possible. I'll go with Barboza though. Okay, next fight after that, Bobby Green fights Pat Healy. Bobby Green won his last fight against James Krause. He has a 21-5 record, 8 wins by KO or TKO, 9 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by submission. 27 years old on a 6-fight win streak. He's actually a pretty good wrestler, surprisingly, actually. He wants to fight against Jacob Volkman, He's definitely matching him into wrestling and end up winning, choking him out. His stand-up is solid as well. Pat Healy, 29-17 record with 1 no contest. 6 wins by KO or TKO, 15 wins by sub. He also has 4 losses by KO or TKO and 6 losses by sub. He's 30 years old. Trains out of Sports Lab. Ryan Healy trains there. Mike Pierce, Dave Jensen, they train there. And Pat Healy is a grinder. He's big for 155. He's strong in the clinch. He's got a good wrestling, good top control, and solid Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills. A true veteran, and he uses his size, and he knows how to use his size. He's kind of a slow starter. I have seen him get beat up, against like Jim Miller, Carlos Fedor, and some other fights where he doesn't do really well in the first round, but gets back in the second and third rounds. Against Maxwell Blanco too, if I'm not mistaken. I gotta go with Pat Healy to win this one. I can see him using the size to grind Bobby Green against the cage. Eventually get that takedown, grind away, and get the win there. Next right after that, we got Scott Young Guns Jorgensen versus Zach Fun Size Makovsky. Well, Jorgensen has a 14-7 record, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 5 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by sub. He's 31 years old. He's only won 1 of his last 4 fights, but they're all his last guy he fought was Uriah Faber. They're all pretty good fighters, Eddie Wineland. I think Hendon Burrell, Eddie Wineland, then he won against Albert, then he lost against Faber. So, there's all to the top guys, It is his first cut to 125, but he's going to be pretty big for a weight class. He's a strong wrestler with some really good front chokes. His stand-up is solid. He's got a good chin, and he's good into scrambles. Zach Makovsky, 16-4 record, former Bellator bantamweight champion. He has 1 win by TKO, 6 wins by sub. He also has 3 losses by sub. 31 years old on a 2-fight winning streak. Training out of Philadelphia Fight Factory. It is his first fight in the UFC. He's got some strong cardio, good wrestling, relentless about getting those takedowns, some good top control. He's good in the scramble. His stand-up's actually not too bad as well. This one's tough to say. I think the things that worry me is taking the fight on short notice. However, Makovsky fought Mendes pretty recently, so he's still going to be fresh. I don't know if taking the fight on short notice will affect him too much. It is his first fight in the UFC, though, and he is fighting Scott Jorgensen, who's a pretty solid fighter. And he's definitely, more than likely not going to be the bigger man in the cage. I don't know, it's tough to say, because Jorgensen's not the fastest guy, and Makovsky's actually pretty quick. I'm kind of leaning towards Jorgensen, though. But there's things working against him, too. It's his first cut to 125, not the quickest guy. And Makovsky is a really quick guy, you know. But yeah, I think the size thing too. I'm leaning more towards Jorgensen. And next right after that, you got a rematch as Roger Bowling fights Abel Trujillo. Bowling, 11-4 record with 1 no contest, 7 wins by KO or TKO, 2 wins by sub. Also has 3 losses by KO or TKO. 31 years old, training out of Team Vision. He's very aggressive, always pushing forward. Stand up. It's good, but it's super reckless. I mean, the guy just sometimes lunges, punches sometimes. He actually got some solid wrestling and good ground and pound, but his cardio is not that good, and his defense kind of sucks. Abel Trujillo, 10-5 record with 1 no contest. 3 wins by KO or TKO, 3 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by sub. 30 years old, training out of Blackzilians. He has good stand too, but it's also reckless and some good wrestling. These guys are pretty similar. And when they fought, they were just kind of trading blows, and they had like no defense, you know. Abel Trujillo, you know, the reason why it was like a no contest was that there's that knee to the grounded opponent thing. And it looks like Trujillo was winning the fight up to then, but Bowling was doing really well too. I've always been like particularly high on. For some reason, I've always had a soft spot actually for Roger Bowling, so I'll go with him to win this one. Honestly, that fight to me kind of a coin flip though, to be perfectly honest with you. Next right after that, Cody McKenzie fights Sam Stout. McKenzie is going back to 155. He has a 14-3 record, 1 win by TKO, 12 wins by sub. He also has 2 losses by sub. 25 years old, training out of Cesar Gracie and Throwdown. He has a strong guillotine. His grappling's really improving. He wants the London Garcia fight. Managed to take him down almost at will. He even showed some improved stand-up. He was kind of using some head movement and whatnot. Stand-up defense kind of sucks, though, especially to the body. Sam Stout, 19-9 record with 1 draw. 9 wins by KO or TKO. 1 win by sub. He also has 3 losses by sub. He's 29 years old. He's trading wins and losses right now. Training out of Team Tompkins. He's a good kickboxer. Always ends his combinations with a kick. He's a good combination puncher too. His takedown defense is solid. His offensive wrestling is actually improving as well. You saw it against like Spencer Fisher pretty recently. He's starting to use a lot more offensive wrestling. I'm going to go Sam Stout. I think he beats McKenzie up on the feet and defends the takedown. And finally, on the Facebook prelims, Ozkilic fights Darren Uyenoyama. Well, Ozkilic, I'll say Ozkilic, has a 8-1 record, 2 wins by KO or TKO, 1 win by sub. He's 27 years old on a 3-fight win streak. It's his first fight in the UFC. He is a Turkish national wrestling champion, and he has a notable TKO win over Antonio Banuelos in his last fight. Darren Uyenoyama, 8-4 record, 1 win by TKO, 4 wins by sub. He's 34 years old. He's a good wrestler himself with some really good Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu skills and good scrambler. Very tricky on the ground. This fight's kind of interesting. Alp, with his wrestling, could negate Uyenoyama. It's very possible. With with this being Alp's first fight in the UFC, I gotta go with the guy who's kind of been in the UFC, fought some pretty strong competition himself, won some, lost a couple. I'll go with Darren Uyenoyama to win that one. Okay, to recap the main card, I have Demetrious Johnson over Joseph Benavidez, Urijah Faber beating Michael McDonald, Chad Mendes over Nick Lentz, and Joe Lauzon over Danzig. On to Fox Sports 1 prelims, I got Ryan LaFlare beating Court McGee, Edson Barboza over Danny Castillo, Pat Healy over Bobby Green, Scott Jorgensen beating Zach Makovsky, Roger Bowling beating Abel Trujillo, and Sam Stout over Cody McKenzie. And on the Facebook prelims, I got Darren Uyenoyama beating Ozkilic. So that's it for my predictions for UFC on Fox 9. Johnson versus Benavidez 2. If you have any comments, just leave them below. And that's it for MMA for you. Thank you guys very much.